So let's talk about something that's been brewing in Pittsburgh for a while now, and it finally feels like it's starting to take shape. The Steelers, for all the ups and downs we've seen this season, may have quietly stumbled onto something that can redefine the way they approach their offensive game, especially against certain defensive looks. But before we get too deep into that, let's make one thing clear. All the fancy formations, the shifting personnel, the heavier sets, that's all well and good. It's creative. It's clever. But none of it matters if you can't convert on third downs. And guess what? That's still a problem. We saw some improvements overseas. That game in Ireland showed signs of life. But at the end of the day, when the chains need to move and the defense knows exactly what's coming, you've got to deliver. And that's going to have to come, more often than not, through more conventional means. You need execution. You need consistency. And above all, you need players who can actually win those key matchups. Not just once or twice, but every single drive. Now, let's rewind to something Mike Tomlin said this week. His press conference heading into the Cleveland game was mostly standard. Coach speak, the usual discipline-focused, we got to get better messaging. But then he dropped something that really turned heads, a rare moment of transparency. He was asked whether the heavier sets used successfully against Minnesota were specific to that matchup or part of a broader plan. And instead of dancing around the question like he usually does, Tomlin went straight into the kind of detail he typically avoids like the plague. He said, flat out, the Steelers have a certain personality when they face 4-3 defenses. And then, without hesitation, he brought up Darnell Washington. That's not something he does lightly. According to Tomlin, you can't line up against edge defenders who weigh 300 pounds and try to block them with 250-pound tight ends. That's not a mismatch. That's just asking to lose. It's like sending a featherweight into the ring against a heavyweight and expecting a fair fight. The weight classes exist for a reason. So yeah, that's why they drafted Darnell. That's why he played almost the entire game against Minnesota. That wasn't a one-off gimmick. That wasn't just adapting to Brian Flores's edge blitzes. That was intentional, strategic, and, according to the head coach himself, a glimpse into what's coming next. And as we look ahead to Cleveland and Cincinnati, both teams that run 4-3 looks, it's very likely we'll see more of the same. But let's not brush past the significance of what Tomlin did here. He does not share strategic insight like this. He doesn't just lay out his approach to upcoming games. This is the same guy who's made a career out of giving the media absolutely nothing to work with when it comes to tactics. So for him to say it out loud, to say you're going to see more of those big sets, more of those heavier bodies lining up to neutralize powerful edge rushers, that's notable. He even called out the difficulty in asking guys like Pat Freiermuth or Connor Hayward to handle that kind of physical assignment. It's not that they're bad players. Far from it. It's just not what they're built for. Now, does this mean Darnell Washington just got quietly promoted to TE1? Because based on the snap counts from the Ireland game, it sure looks that way. He was on the field for 48 of the 53 offensive snaps. That's massive. For context, Jonnu Smith played 16, and Pat Freiermuth only saw 15. And again, this wasn't mop-up duty or garbage time. This was by design. It wasn't a rotational quirk. This was the game plan. Look, I've said this before, and I'll keep saying it. I don't care what the official depth chart says. That stuff's written for press releases. What matters is who's actually playing. Snap count is the only depth chart that matters. And Darnell being out there nearly every down, that tells you everything. Of course, you'll hear people say it's just a matchup thing, or that it's temporary. That the Steelers were just scheming to take advantage of Minnesota's particular weaknesses. But here's the thing, Tomlin shut that idea down himself. He flat out said, you cannot play 4-3 defenses with smaller tight ends. Period. And if that's the way they feel heading into the next stretch of games, then this isn't a one-off. This is the new normal, at least for now. But while all of that is fascinating, it brings us back to the real issue, third downs. As fun as it is to talk about heavy sets and strategy shifts, none of it matters if this offense can't sustain drives. Right now, the Steelers rank 20th in the NFL in third down conversion rate. That's 38.64%. Not terrible, but not good enough. You need to be in the 42% and up range if you want to crack the top 10 in the league. That's where the truly efficient offenses live. and where the Steelers should be aiming. Yes, they did inch up to 40% in the Ireland game. Yes, that's a step in the right direction. But let's not pretend that's some kind of arrival. It's not. It's still a problem. And it's especially frustrating when you look at the talent that's sitting there waiting to be more involved. Jonnu Smith, for example, had 88 catches last year in Miami. 55 of those moved the chains. That's production. That's efficiency. That's a tight end who knows how to help his quarterback get out of tough spots. Freiermuth has been reliable in those situations throughout his career, too. These aren't unknown commodities. These are proven assets. So where are they? If Washington is the guy now, if he's the top tight end by usage, then he needs to start contributing to that third down success. Maybe he can. Maybe he will. He certainly has the size and the blocking ability. But we haven't seen enough of him as a receiving threat to know for sure. That part of his game is still developing. And until it fully comes online, the Steelers are going to need to find ways to bring their other tight ends back into the fold, especially when it comes to moving the chains. Right now, it's like the offense is riding with training wheels. Darnell is one wheel. Spencer Anderson is another. And that's fine for now. Sometimes you need those training wheels to get steady, to find your balance. But eventually, if this team really wants to contend, not just hang around, they're going to have to start pedaling on their own. No more leaning on gimmicks or special packages. It's time to ride. Maybe that won't happen this week. Maybe it can't, with a strong Cleveland defense on the horizon. That unit is no joke. They can rush. They can cover. They can hit. But if not now, then when? Because the week after, you've got Cincinnati, a team that, let's be honest, is a mess on defense right now. That could be the breakout moment. That could be the game where the tight ends get back to doing what they're best at, giving the quarterback reliable targets in crunch time, helping move the ball, and keeping drives alive. And until that happens, until those third downs stop being a coin flip, none of this other stuff is going to matter. Not the heavy sets, not the shifting personalities, not even Darnell's rise to prominence. Because in this league, you win by staying on the field. You win by converting on third down. And right now, the Steelers still have a long way to go. But let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture here. There's this recurring narrative floating around in Steelers Nation, and it tends to flare up every time the team is about to face a so-called trap game. You know exactly the kind of chatter I'm talking about. Fans and even media start whispering about how Mike Tomlin's teams have this strange tendency to play down to the competition. The idea that when Pittsburgh is the favorite, especially by a wide margin, something in the team just shuts off and suddenly they're in a dogfight with a bottom-tier opponent. It's a classic narrative, and it always finds a way back into conversation. And sure enough, it's popping up again ahead of this Cleveland matchup. People are saying it out loud, calling it the mother of all trap games. Like they can just sense it coming from a mile away. But here's the thing. If you can sense it, if you can predict it, then is it really a trap? Or is it just lazy thinking dressed up as analysis? Because when you actually dig into the numbers, not the feelings, not the memories of that ugly loss to the Raiders in Oakland 5 years ago, the truth tells a very different story. From 2019 through the end of the 2024 season, Mike Tomlin's record against teams that ended the season with losing records is 17 wins and only 4 losses. That's an 810 winning percentage. Read that again. It's better than the likes of Andy Reid, Bill Belichick, Kyle Shanahan, Pete Carroll, all the big-name head coaches who somehow never seem to get stuck with that trap game label the way Tomlin does. Their collective winning percentage in that same context? 75.8. Tomlin's ahead of them. So where's this reputation coming from? It comes from emotional scars. Games that hurt more than others. A random loss to a bad team that just sticks in your memory. It lingers. It shapes perception. But it's not the reality. It's not the pattern. Statistically, Tomlin has been one of the best in the league at taking care of business against teams he's supposed to beat. And when you factor in situations where opponents are missing their starting quarterbacks, something that historically leads to horrendous win-loss records, Tomlin's success rate still holds up. But that doesn't stop the narrative from spreading. Fans still talk about the infamous letdowns, the late-season collapses, the missed opportunities. And while those moments did happen, they're not the rule, they're the exception. The truth is, Most Sundays, especially against subpar teams, the Steelers under Tomlin come out with the win. Now, let's also not pretend that Cleveland is some walkover, because they're not. That defense, in particular, is a legitimate force. They're fast, physical, well-coached, and capable of keeping any team in the game regardless of what's happening on offense. They don't need to score 30 points to win. They just need to keep you under 20, and they've proven they can do that on any given Sunday. So this isn't a trap game. It's a tough game, and it needs to be approached as such. That brings us back to the offense, and more specifically, the quarterback position. Because if the Steelers are going to climb out of this mid-pack existence and start making real noise, they need more out of that spot. They need more accuracy, more control, more third down magic. Right now, this offense feels like it's stuck somewhere between survival mode and slow progress. And while the emergence of Darnell Washington as a blocker might help with protection and run support, you still need someone who can read a defense and deliver a strike when it counts. The weapons are there. George Pickens is electric. Deontay Johnson, when healthy, is a route technician. Najee Harris can grind out yards. Jaylen Warren brings explosiveness. And yes, the tight end room is deeper than it's ever been. But someone has to put it all together. Someone has to lead the charge and actually push the ball downfield when it matters most. We've seen enough of the excuses. We've seen enough of the sputtering drives and the field goals that should have been touchdowns. This team has too much invested, too much talent to be ranked in the bottom half of the league when it comes to sustaining drives. If anything, it should be the opposite, and that starts with how they use their personnel, particularly on third downs. If Tomlin is serious about this identity shift, if he really believes in building the offense around physical mismatches and overpowering the defensive front, then that has to translate to success when it matters most. Because lining up with a jumbo package only works if you're actually converting. If you're getting stuffed on 3rd and 3 after going heavy, all it does is raise more questions. And if the tight ends are being used to block more than a catch, then someone else better be stepping up as a security blanket when the quarterback needs a bailout. You don't get to lean on one idea forever. The league adjusts. Opponents adapt. And if the Steelers can't find a rhythm that works across various defensive looks, not just against 4-3 fronts, then all of this talk about Darnell and heavy sets becomes irrelevant. But again, there's potential here. Real potential. What we saw in Ireland wasn't just some cute change of pace. It was a test drive, and it worked. The offense had rhythm. The line looked more confident. The quarterback looked more comfortable. Maybe, just maybe, this is the start of something more consistent. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Official, or maybe not quite, the NFL rumor mill is already spinning after the shocking news that LAZARD has signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers. While the team hasn't exactly dropped a press release with fireworks and confetti, insiders whisper that LAZARD's arrival could shake up the Steelers' receiving core in ways few saw coming. Known for his knack for contested catches and his ability to make defenders look foolish in midair, LAZARD might just be the secret weapon Pittsburgh needs to inject some unpredictability into their passing game. Steelers fans are buzzing, imagining the kind of fireworks that could light up Acrisure Stadium when LAZARD takes the field. For years, Pittsburgh has been searching for a reliable target who can turn those impossible throws into highlight reels. LAZARD has done it time and time again, carving out a reputation in Green Bay as a clutch performer who never shies away from the spotlight or a physical contest. The whispers are that his arrival could force opposing defenses to rethink their strategies entirely, especially in the red zone where contested catches often mean the difference between a touchdown and a turnover. Sources close to the team suggest that the front office views LAZARD as more than just another receiver. He could be the missing piece that gives rookie quarterbacks confidence and gives veteran signal callers an extra edge. Speculation is running wild. Will LAZARD be lining up outside, challenging cornerbacks with his size, or sneaking into the slot to exploit mismatches? Every Steelers analyst has their own theory, but one thing seems certain: LAZARD's presence alone has already put defenses on notice. Of course, as with any hot NFL rumor, caution is advised. Will LAZARD's chemistry with Pittsburgh's quarterbacks develop immediately, or will it take time to see the magic? Will he live up to the expectations, or are fans getting ahead of themselves in the excitement? Regardless, the chatter is already electric, and the sense of anticipation is palpable. The Steelers have quietly shifted the balance of power in their receiving core, and all eyes will be on LAZARD to see if he can turn contested catches into game-changing moments. For now, the rumor is official enough to get tongues wagging, and that's exactly the kind of buzz Pittsburgh loves. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.